Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Daily Football Roundup proudly brings to you the best damn podcast in the world, the 12-Ounce Curl Route Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Current. You can find me on Twitter at Aaron Current. My co-host Kyle can be found at the same app at DF Roundup. And my boy C-Flow rocking his Texans gear again, man. What's good, boys? How y'all doing this week?
What's going on, buddy?
Well, another week,
It's cold and then it's hot here. How about Kyle? Is it cold or hot there?
It's cold and then it's hot here. So cold and then it's hot. 1 week it's hot for the Bengals, and then the next week Coleridge, Bernard Stroud, the fourth rolls to town, and it's not so hot for the Bengals.
Yeah, that game was on the 6-pack challenge, right? So we'll get into that, I'm sure. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, before we hop right in, happy belated Veterans Day to you, Kyle. My father, who is a retired Army veteran as well, called me on Veterans Day, and he goes, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. Luckily, I was getting up for work. Thank you, Toyota, for having me work Veterans Day. I appreciate it. But he calls me 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm packing my lunch, and he goes, the first thing he says to me, not Happy Veterans Day. He says, I just watched y'all's show. You need to talk more about Jared Goff. Like, okay, Dad. I'll see if I can sneak it in there. So apparently, we're not talking enough Lions. His longtime girlfriend is originally from Michigan, so he kind of adopted her team, and he jumped on the bandwagon when the getting was good because the Lions have paid him off and given him a good team to root for, as well as the Wolverines of Michigan. He likes them too. So I guess we got to talk more Lions. I didn't put them in the challenge this week because I don't know how pretty it's going to be against my Bears, but going forward, I will try to get the Lions talk.
Since he wants us to talk more about the Lions, I read an article about Dan Campbell, because if you saw, Jimbo Fisher is out in Texas A&M, due like $76 million guaranteed. He's getting paid. And I saw something that said Texas A&M could go after Dan Campbell, who's from Texas, who played at Texas A&M, and who just has a really great mentality. And the boosters can pay him some money that he might not make in the NFL. I don't know how much he's making as the head coach of the Lions, but I don't know that we would see a jump from an NFL head coach down to the college ranks that hadn't come from the college ranks before. But it was just intriguing that, I don't think Dan Campbell's going to go anywhere. I think Dan Campbell will probably be rewarded with a very handsome contract after this season. But since Dad wants us to talk about the Lions, there's one for you, Dad. Let us know what you think. Write Corey a letter and say, hey, here's my thoughts on Dan Campbell going to Texas A&M.
Yeah, that's that'd be interesting, especially with Ben Johnson gaining a lot of steam as future head coach. Maybe he doesn't have to go anywhere to become a head coach in the league. I
don't see him leaving, and I think for Lions fans, they are praying that he doesn't leave.
Yeah, he's putting together a good-looking offense. It's fun to watch up there. But we'll get into the 6-pack challenge from last week, our 12-Ounce Curl Route podcast. Big spread of the week was Sunday at 4:25. The New York Giants traveling to Dallas. They were 16-point underdogs. We all was on the side of Dallas. We all were on the side of Dallas, and we all were correct. Dallas spanked them. I didn't watch a second of this ball game. I'm not going to lie to you. But what about Jared Goff? Jared Goff doesn't play for either of these teams, so I'm not going to touch on him right away. Although the Giants probably wish they had him on Jared Goff right now. Did you guys watch any of this? Or
I did until they finally switched over, which I don't know how they didn't switch over at half. Basically, Dallas looks amazing again. All of a sudden, now granted it's against New York. I did hear a theory today, or was it yesterday, that New York should just start throwing the ball downfield and getting pass interference. Why not? Because they can't throw a ball to anybody. So just chuck it down somewhere close to somebody and hope that a pass interference happens.
They would just throw at more interceptions than they're throwing now by doing that. I mean, how many times are they going to call pass interference on that?
It's bad. It's bad over there.
I hate it for Brian Daboll. He's the guy that I wanted in Chicago when we hired Eberflus instead. And he is struggling out there. He's got his guy from Buffalo as the GM, and they've got. I mean, it's looking like a full on rebuild. Which then what do you do with Daniel Jones's contract?
Well, that's the thing. He signed that big contract, and then 10 minutes later gets hurt, and he won't be back. If he's back, he won't be back till next November at the earliest.
I don't think that the Giants are gonna cut ties with Daboll, but if they do, he's going right back to Buffalo as the offensive coordinator because they just fired Ken Dorsey.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what the Patriots do. You know, they let their coordinators go, show that they can't be an NFL head coach, and they come back and they coordinate for the Patriots again. But I think Daboll gets at least another year in New York because what a series of unfortunate events. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. They made the playoffs and they beat the Vikings in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And now you decide to give the big contract to the quarterback when it should have went to the running back. And I think that the Giants are going to have a real shot at the number 1 pick as well. And Daniel Jones is probably going to be the highest paid backup quarterback next year. And then they're going to move on from him the year after that. So
I think Daboll gets another year because last year they weren't supposed to make the playoffs. Nope, we didn't think they'd win 3 games last year, and then they did. So the rebuild is too fast now. All of a sudden, you know, like I think you have to give him at least 1 more year, just at least, and maybe draft a quarterback and maybe try somebody else and have the most expensive backup in the history of the NFL.
Well, they have invested money and draft picks into the offensive line, and it's just really not working out. They paid their left tackle. It looked like a solid investment. He had really been holding his own over there, and that's not working out. I mean, it's awful all up and down that roster. I know I've already seen on Twitter Giants fans talking themselves into Caleb Williams being a generational talent. Fellas, I've been down that road. It's I've stayed up late to watch USC games, expecting to see something that I could hopefully see next year in Chicago. And I'll be honest with you, fellas, I don't see it. I like Drake May better than him right now. And I don't know if that's hot takey or what. No. Corey, I know you're a big Michael Penix guy. What I was sold as a Bears fan was don't worry about picking a quarterback this year. None of them are going to be great. CJ Stroud looks great now. And then wait till next year when Caleb Williams comes out. He's going to be the best prospect since Trevor Lawrence. And before that, Andrew Luck. And I don't see it. Now, if the Giants get him and Daboll's done some amazing things. Look at Josh Allen after he's left. But it's tough to be a fan of a team that's losing week in and week out, and especially in the fashion that the Giants are losing. You know, I kind of feel bad for Giants fans having to watch that team every week because I've been there, and it's not easy.
I think this is kind of what Giants fans deserve because they got 2 Super Bowl wins with Eli Manning. Gross. This was them selling their soul to the devil to get those 2 Super Bowl wins. Eli Manning, the only time he won playoff games was the 2 years that they won the Super Bowl. Every other year that they made the playoffs, he lost. He lost. Every other year that they made the playoffs, he lost. He has 8 wins in the playoffs, and they're all from the 2 seasons that they won the Super Bowl.
Real quick about Dallas. Man, it's crazy when they throw the ball at CeeDee Lamb. It's just first NFL player ever. 3 consecutive games of 150 yards and 10 receptions. That's wild.
He's starting to earn that 88 on his chest. I remember
no doubt.
When he first put it on, I was like, those are big shoes to fill, man. That's usually, I think of Michael Irving. I don't know if anyone else wore it or tried to push it to that level, especially with the star on their helmet. But Michael Irving is one of the best receivers of all time. So
Dez had it. So, but Dez kind of flamed out. But
did he catch it or did he drop it, Kyle?
By rule, the NFL rules at the time, that's a drop, man. That was not a catch. If we're going based off of what the rules were at the time and what the refs ruled it, that is not a catch. Now, hindsight's 50-50 because the Fail Mary Seahawks versus the Packers, that was an interception that they ruled a touchdown. So the NFL rule book is really it's going to screw you one way or the other. But Des Bryant did not catch it.
Well, we'll move on. Our 12-ounce curl route podcast nail biter of the week last week, a 1-point spread. The Tennessee Titans traveling to Tampa. We were all on the side of Tennessee. I didn't honestly. I tried to find a quad screen this week to watch the Bengals and the Titans, and they didn't have it available. YouTube TV, I love what you've done, but you have to make it to where we can pick which games to put into the quad screen, please, and thank you. So I didn't watch this game because it was on at the same time as the Bengals, and I was really wanting to watch that Bengals game and see how that played out. But I just kept seeing the screen, the score come up like it was up 3-0, and that was it. After that, it was all Tampa, and I don't know what happened. I haven't looked at the stat line. I did see a play of Will Levis stumbling out of his break, coming back from the center. I don't know if he got stepped on or exactly what happened, but I don't know. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback. You're going to see ups and downs with him, and Tampa Bay they did their thing, I guess, defensively, and I mean, it wasn't much of a nail biter. Did you guys watch any of this, Corey? I'll go to you.
I was watching my Stroud guy and watching the Texans and the Cincinnati Bengals. I could not tear away from that game. Honestly, forgot this game was at 1:00.
Yeah.
So that being said, I we all picked Tennessee, I believe. I thought Tennessee was a little bit better than this. Maybe it's we love Levis, obviously, being from Kentucky, but it's a growing pain. I mean, it's his third game. So, yeah. I mean, let's see. Bucks are going to win their division probably. So, I mean, this could have gone either way, honestly.
I don't want to say that Will Levis is a fraud. I'm not going to go that far to say that he is. Maybe he's forgotten to put the mayo in his coffee. He has 4 passing touchdowns on the season. And they all came a few weeks ago. Was it when they were playing Atlanta, I think?
It was the first game that he started.
First game he started, 3 of them went to D-Hop. The other one, I think, went to Nick Westbrook-Ikeen. 4 touchdowns on the season. Since then, he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass. Yeah. This is the game that got me. This is Will Levis. Thank you as to why I'm not 6-0 this week, and I'm feeling real high on myself. 5-1, I'll take it, but this game was not close at all, and it's emotions were high after Will Levis came in and threw those 4 touchdowns, and they got the win. And now the Titans are back to being the Titans, and when they play away from home, Derrick Henry can't get it going either. So.
I'm starting to hear rumors that Mike Vrabel may be going back to New England with but basically what I've heard is they gave Belichick an extension, and the biggest reason why is if someone wants Belichick, they're going to give you something for him. They didn't want to just let him go, and then Mike Vrabel would be the Patriot way: call up a former assistant or former player. And get him up there. Corey, how would you feel if that were to happen in New England?
I'd be all right. Now I don't know if y'all remember or not. He said he's going to cut his penis off if he wins the Super Bowl. So that might be a weird thing, but I'm all for Vrabel coming up. Yes, that's a thing he said, by the way. This was like 2 years
ago. Sounds like a Dan Campbell thing to say.
I know, right? But I wouldn't mind it. I mean, the whole Belichick thing, I more or less just want Mac Jones out of there. And if we're going to spend that much money on tight ends and wide receivers, spend that money on good ones.
Yeah. I don't believe we have New England on here this week, but I know Bailey Zappi came in at the end of the game, and they tried to make something happen there in Germany, and it just didn't pan out. The next game, Thursday Night Football, the Carolina Panthers traveled to Chicago, and I believed in the Chicago Bears and -4. You both correctly chose Carolina +4. And the final score was Chicago 16, Carolina 13. So Chicago keeps Carolina's draft position at number 1. This spread did move back to 3 literally the morning after we did our show. and I was like, damn. I mean, I bet it at 3 and got the push. But
Aaron, do you hear that? It's the world's smallest violin, and it's playing for you because you wrongly chose the Chicago Bears instead of the Panthers, and then you want to say, "Oh, well, the spread changed." Well, too bad. Too bad. You know what else changes? The weather. Okay, it changes. It happens. We locked in at Carolina +4. We won. Chicago. I can't even talk crap about Chicago.
I say we over talking shit. Like
Chicago game was awful. Man. If you guys actually watched it.
Well, I watched it because your boy took hammered the under, so we made some cash on this game. But other than that, this game was tough to watch.
Yeah, I bet it at -3 because DraftKings gave me a profit boost, and I pushed. So it is what it is. It was just an ugly game. Neither team looked like they wanted to win. I don't. Montez Sweat had 8 pressures. I think that was the most by a Bears defensive lineman since Robert Quinn went on his record-breaking season. I guess hooray. But as you said earlier, Kyle, the more games the Bears win, the closer we are to Eberflus sticking around, and I really don't want to see him out there. He's awful. I don't know if you guys saw his press conference before the game.
I'm not watching their press
Wednesday. So the reporter asked him, and as soon as he walks out, he's giving an injury update, and he goes, Justin Fields is out, Bagent's going to start, and Peterman will be his backup. And then on the report, it said doubtful. So the reporter goes, well, is it doubtful or is it out? And he goes, well, it's doubtful. We're going to try it out and see how it goes. But it's like he didn't know the status of his quarterback. Though I don't know if he was trying to play mind games and make them think that maybe Justin was going to play, but he knew Justin wasn't going to play. And then after he said he was out, he realized, oh, crap, it says doubtful on the injury report. I don't know what it was, but it was a confusing back and forth with the media in Chicago, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah, you got the number 1 pick.
Yeah, we're holding tight to it. Hopefully Kyler Murray came back and won them a game, so keep pushing them down the draft, and hopefully the New York Giants don't catch the Carolina Panthers, because Carolina's in a bad division. They're not going to hurt themselves to win some games. You know what I mean? They're not too worried. I don't think. Did you guys watch this game? Or I went to bed. The Bears went up 16-10, and I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. Like right after Eberflus, instead of going up 7, going for 2, he kicked a field goal to go up 6, and
one of the only reasons I watch this game is because of Adam Thielen. You know, I'm the guy watching Thursday night football between these two teams. Like, throw it to Thielen, throw it to Thielen, throw it to Thielen. I mean, it's got fantasy football implications, and that's one of the biggest things with NFL nowadays is people are watching games that don't. I'm not going to say this game doesn't matter, because it does for the Bears.
Yeah.
But throw it to Adam Thielen. You know, he was so hot the first 6 games of the season, 7 games of the season. And now they're just not throwing it to Adam Thielen, who's been really their only offense all season. The Panthers, they're just in a bad way. And the Bears, the Bears ain't far behind. Yeah, they have 3 wins, but
it was a bad team beating a worse team. And I feel the same way that you do about Adam Thielen, about DJ Moore. I'm like, every time they get him the ball, the guy breaks the tackle and goes for, I don't know, 12, 15, 16 yards, but they give him the ball like 5 times in an entire game. He's clearly the best player on the team.
Well, Justin Fields is due to be back this week, and I think that I heard today on the radio that the last 2 games that DJ Moore's had Justin Fields at quarterback, he scored 27 PPR points and 49 PPR fantasy points. So DJ Moore needs Justin Fields back under center.
Yeah. Justin's 2 biggest games, he had a perfect passer rating when passing to DJ Moore, but then he got hurt. Anything from you, Corey, or should we move on?
No, I had monetary purposes on this game, so I watched it because, I know it's gross to go hit, root for unders, but this was a no-brainer to me.
Mm-hmm. And the primetime the primetime unders have hit consistently.
Yes, they have.
So I
I
think
can
I
confirm.
heard
Yes.
like a 70% hit rate on primetime unders this year. So
Yeah.
it's, if your sports betting is legal in your state, hit that one. The next game that we're going to watch, this was one, or that we're going to talk about. This was one that I did have on the quad cam. Sunday at 1:00, the Cleveland Browns traveled to Baltimore. They win the game 33-31. We all picked Cleveland +6, but fellas, when this kicked off, Baltimore picks it off for a pick six at the start, and then they go and score, and it was
Yep.
looking really ugly. I even texted the group chat. Baltimore's making us look like a bunch of idiots. And then Cleveland just clawed their way all the way back, hit a last-second field goal to win the game. There were 6 last-second field goals last weekend to win or lose games. And I don't know if that's a record or what, but it felt like every game I watched came down to a last-second field goal. Made for really fun football, honestly. But shout out to Cleveland. But the bad news after this, it came out today, Deshaun Watson will be out the rest of the year, going on IR. That hurts them a lot. I mean, they can turn around and hand it off. I know they did announce that DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson, who we talked about last week on this podcast, will be the starter moving forward. At least for this week. I don't know. Maybe they'll still go back and forth, but good for Cleveland to win a divisional matchup and claw their way back. What'd you think of this one, Corey?
So when I first started, obviously watching Houston and Cincinnati, I looked down at the ticker. I was like, well, shit, we all lost that one. And then like halftime, I started paying attention again. I was like, oh. And then like out of nowhere, like they showed the ending of the clips or the ending. And I also think too, Deshaun finally started playing good, but they won games without Deshaun.
Yeah.
And there was that whole question of, hey, let's just have PJ Walker play. Our defense is that good. You essentially have a better scenario of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So like, I mean, yes, this sucks because you have $294 million or whatever it is that's out for who knows how long. But I mean, it's kind of like New York, only they have a way better defense and they have a way better offense. So
yeah.
They have two quarterbacks that could probably play instead of Danny DeVito up there in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
Mostly what you have to do in that offense is turn around and hand it off. Between Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt looking like his old self, that helps a lot. It sucks for Amari Cooper, who's going to not be getting as many targets, and David Njoku, who they finally started using this last week. And Deshaun, I mean, he wasn't all the way back, but he showed some Houston glimpses in that game. When he takes off for a first down, he was moving the ball around pretty well and spreading it out. The defense helped him. I think they had a pick six. Newsome took one back.
Late in the game too.
Yeah.
To kind of help seal it there. But it was a hell of a game. Just like I said, I started out full screen Cincinnati, Houston. I ended up going quad screen. This one was on there, and it was definitely fun to watch. Kyle, what'd you feel about this game?
I mean, you hit the group chat, and I was feeling the same type of way. Man, we messed up by taking Cleveland, and they stormed back. I thought for sure, and Corey, I think we all said it last week. We're taking the under on this one. And you got two of the top defenses in the NFL, and the final score of this game is 33-31. No, I mean, this is not your AFC North battle that we're used to seeing. This was a slobber knocker. And I did not expect it to one, when we were watching the game, I did not expect it to be this close, going even in Cleveland's favor, but I didn't think that they'd score this many points either.
Yeah. I thought it would be like a 20-17 type game. I didn't see it doing this either.
I will say too, that division is definitely looking like we thought it was going to look. Everybody's just doing crazy shit in it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun thing to watch for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Speaking of that division, that brings us right into our next game. Sunday at 1:00, the Houston Texans travel to Cincinnati. They win this game 30-27. I had Houston plus 6.5. We all had Houston plus 6.5 on this game. I thought the Bengals would win, but I knew it would be close. I did see the standings after this game ended. The Bengals are at 5-4 at the bottom of the AFC North. So you talk about a dog fight to the top of this division, and now with Deshaun Watson going out, that can really hurt the Browns' chances of taking this division and continuing with momentum. The Bengals, they had every chance to win. Literally, the guy had the ball, the game-winning touchdown in his hands, Tyler Boyd, who had just made a big play in that exact drive to get them in field goal range, has the ball in his hands and drops it. And you just feel bad for that kid. But shout out to CJ Stroud, 2 back-to-back weeks, game-winning drives, puts the team on his back after throwing an interception. Joe Burrow threw 2 picks in this game. CJ Stroud threw one right after Burrow threw one. Like when Burrow threw his, I was like, well, this game's over now. But CJ gave it right back to him, but he came back down. His team trusted him, and he's building himself a legacy. He's locked up the offensive rookie of the year. And there's even people talking MVP talks with CJ Stroud already as a rookie. This Texans team it's something. It's and he's not doing it with superstars. You know, you got good coaching and a really good quarterback. This is what you end up with. He's turned Tank Dell into a star. He's got Robert Woods, who's always consistent, and Dalton Schultz, who was a safety blanket for Dak Prescott for years in Dallas, is now becoming that for CJ Stroud. There was a big third down in that game where the Bengals had to get off the field, and Schultz just does an in route right past the sticks, and CJ just throws a laser on him. But this game, the back and forth, and both these quarterbacks playing, you know, doing what you expect to see in the NFL, playing really well. It was a really fun game to watch, and I watched it from start to finish. Corey, what'd you feel about this one? I know you're a Stroud boy.
Yeah, it's a good weekend for us Stroud boys over here. And don't forget, too, Damian Pierce is not having his rookie year. He's having a sophomore slump. Devin Singletary just kind of filling right in right there. And then Nico Collins, who's had like a first great 7 games.
Noah Brown,
he's
I didn't even mention him.
Noah Brown. So not to mention too, also that the fact that Houston is only 1 game and currently has the win over. They're 1 game behind Jacksonville in the standings.
Oh wow!
So Houston could make the playoffs in theory, and I think either they were first in the hunt or they were number 7. I can't remember. So number 7. So technically they're in right now. Now it's getting to the point we're looking at like, how did they lose to Carolina? Like, because we're looking at Houston a totally different way than we were going to look at this, beginning of the year. So that game is very exciting. Cincinnati, like you said, they had every chance to win. I think Higgins, his injury is looking a little. I think he'll be back, maybe not next week, but the week after. If you get him back, and I think Cincinnati will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Houston's the real deal.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though.
Go ahead, Kyle.
With the Higgins injury is Cincinnati doesn't have time to be fine, Corey. They don't. They are sitting at number 8. They are currently out of the playoffs, and in that AFC North where it's absolutely a battle, they don't have time to wait for guys to get healthy and come back. And I want to correct Aaron real quick because he said the Houston Texans when he introduced this game. He should have said Corey's beloved Houston Texans. We've got to start working on that.
Long-time fan down there.
Long-time fan. Also, he made the mistake of saying CJ Stroud. His name is Coleridge.
I'll call him CJ. That's what normal people call him.
We're bringing Coleridge. We're bringing it in. Same thing with Joshua Dobbs. His name is Robert. So we got Coleridge Stroud and we got Robert Dobbs. So we gotta get this to where it's supposed to be.
Oh, Bobby Dobbs, huh?
Yeah,
Bobby Dobbs. I'll tell you the one thing I'll say about this game. CJ Stroud threw his 2nd interception of the season, his first pick 6 that brought Cincinnati back. I watched Joe Burrow roll to the left and absolutely throw a bomb to Jamar Chase.
It was beautiful,
and it was so great to watch. Like just the way he opened up his hips and just threw it deep, and he hit Jamar in stride too.
Yep.
Jamar didn't have to slow down or anything like that, but the video of him just rolling out and throwing it, and it was just like, oh my gosh, that was a beautiful throw. Burrow is back.
Mhm.
Joe Burrow is back, and they're gonna need him. And we'll get into Cincinnati here in a little bit too, but they're gonna need him to get in the playoffs, to not just get to the Super Bowl, but to even get in the playoffs this year for Cincinnati.
Yeah. Yeah, the commentators talked about that play, and that's one of my fantasy stacks is Burrow stacked with Chase, and they showed that it was supposed to be a shallow cross for Jamar Chase, but he got down in there and realized that the safeties were coming up, and he kind of freelanced. You got to have that these days in the NFL. He kind of freelanced and took it deeper, and it's like, him and Joe, they've been teammates for so long, they can just kind of read each other's minds a lot like Kyle, you saw with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers used to do, where they just know what they're going to do, and he put it right on him. Beautiful pass, great play, and shout out to the Texans kicker who was an XFL kicker last year. Comes in and hits a game winner with all the stress on the road in Cincinnati. Shout out to him, man, for stepping up big for his team to win.
Amendola, I think his name was.
I believe that's correct.
Is it Matt Amendola?
I think so.
I didn't realize Fairbairn was out again.
Yeah, he was. I think he was. No, he didn't even suit up.
Yeah, I think it's a hamstring, so he should be out. He was out a couple of weeks.
They talked like he was coming back, but I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if it was Amendola. Let me find out who their kicker was.
I think it was not related to Danny. I don't think, but
yeah. Yeah. Once we figure that out, we'll move on to the. Is this the
Matt Amendola? Yeah, he kicked a 38-yarder to win it.
Yeah. So shout out to Matt Amendola for putting the team on his back and winning the game. The next game was Sunday at 1:00 as well. There was a lot of good, or quote unquote good games at 1:00. This one was not so good. The San Francisco 49ers traveled down to Jacksonville and absolutely shellacked them 34-3. Myself and Kyle had San Francisco. Corey, you were on Jacksonville +3. And I don't know if you guys saw Christian McCaffrey's thing today from his press conference, but he was like, I suck. Everyone else scored on the team, and I didn't. He had a long streak of touchdowns per game that he started or something to that effect.
He was up to 17.
Yeah, 17 touchdowns in a row, and they're up 37-3 or 34-3, sorry, and Christian McCaffrey's still in there, and they're in the red zone, and I'm like, why is CMC in there? They were trying to get him another touchdown or get him a touchdown to extend that touchdown streak to 18 to get the record. And I had seen that Shanahan told Peterson after the game, or, like there was an understanding, like he's only in there to get this record. Like I get it. But still the fact that he's in there fourth quarter and you're up 34-3, if CMC goes down,
especially with his injury history.
Yeah.
I don't, man, Jacksonville, that's not what I thought Jacksonville was. I don't know what to say about it. They looked awful. And San Francisco's back now too, apparently. We're just gonna pretend they didn't lose 3 games in a row. Like, I mean, they looked like
Purdy back out of concussion protocol, and I know Sleeper. I had Brock Purdy starting in our dynasty league. He's my starting quarterback, and I just kept, I wasn't watching the game. I just kept getting updates. Brock Purdy, big play. Brock Purdy, big play. I was like, what is going on? And then I looked at the score. I was like, holy cow, they are stomping the crap out of Jacksonville. And Corey, you talk about Houston being 1 game away. If Jacksonville keeps slipping up, man, Houston is right there to take it away from them and take the division from Jacksonville. Have they played them this season? Both times or only one?
No, just the once. I actually think Jacksonville won that, I believe.
I feel like Jacksonville did. I was thinking that. I just didn't know.
They lost to the Texans
37-17. Yeah.
So Texans have that's right. Yeah. Texans
so they have the tiebreaker.
Yes, so far. Wow. They play again in 11/26.
Oh,
so that's next weekend. Yeah.
Thanksgiving weekend next week, by the way. So that'll be fun for our 6-pack challenge. Was there any other games from last week that you guys wanted to touch on? Kyle, I know your Packers had a chance to beat the Steelers, and are you crying? Is that
No.
it?
My thing is,
That was
if
tough.
I'm going to say anything about the Green Bay Packers, why in the fuck, Christian Watson, do you consistently try to do this fadeaway, catching the ball in the end zone? It doesn't make sense. This is the second time that I've watched him try to do like this fadeaway, falling back catch when you got to go up and get the dang ball. You're letting these defenders just bat the thing away and intercept it and stuff like that. And we consistently have had a chance at the end of the games
Yeah.
for Jordan Love. I can't really blame Love, but he had 2 interceptions at the end of the game. I am used to Hall of Fame level play at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers down by 6 points with 30 seconds left, driving it down the field for a touchdown. Same thing with Brett Favre. And you get 2 attempts, Jordan Love, to drive it down, and you don't do shit with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I feel like Aaron after week 1 of the NFL season, but it's just so frustrating to watch. And at this point, I'm just hoping that Green Bay doesn't. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're 3-6, even if they get hot, which they're not going to. Well, they could. I'm not going to talk myself.
I say easy there, killer.
They're not going to get hot. They're not making the playoffs. Don't fire LaFleur at the end of this season. Don't do it because your team is super young. It's so young this year. Yeah. You roll it back next year. You get your high pick. You add an offensive tackle because Bakhtiari's gone, and you continue to move on the next year. You have a quarterback in place. Don't panic. Don't overthink it. We've been here before.
Well, Jordan Love was making some good throws in this game. It wasn't like the Jordan Love that we've seen a few weeks where he's panicked and just looked lost out there. He was making some good plays, even some deep balls that were on target. Yeah. And I don't know, man.
I just want to point out real quick that our 3 teams are combined 8-21.
Nice.
I thought Houston was 5-4, Corey.
Okay, so if you add them in, we're
All right, so I guess from here on, Aaron and I have to find a second favorite team as well.
So I already have one, and it's Cincinnati. It's
okay. So you've got Cincinnati.
Bengals fan. So before we move on, though, I do want to touch on the Monday night fiasco. I did not plan, I didn't plan to watch a second of the game. I said the Bills are going to dog walk Denver, right? I mean, Denver is not good. So and then I checked the score before I was going to bed, and it was 3-0 Denver in the second quarter. And I was like, well, maybe I should tune in a little bit. So I tuned in and saw the amazing catch in the end zone that they didn't call a catch on the field, that they went back and reviewed and called Cortland Sutton in. And Denver wins this game due to the Bills having 12 men on the field during a field goal that they missed. And they got another shot at it, and he nails it. And Ken Dorsey gets let go the next day. So it's things starting to fall apart there in Buffalo, and they've put so much money into that to make this Super Bowl run. Think about the draft picks, the money that they put toward Von Miller. Yep. I don't know if Ed Oliver's been paid yet, but he'll probably get paid, even if not there, somewhere else. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, who people or other players in the league are starting to talk about trying to get him out of Buffalo. I mean,
his own brother.
yeah, got to get him out of there. I think
his brother needs to worry about not getting burnt every other play first before he starts talking shit.
He has a torn ACL. He's got a lot of time to watch games right now. So
yeah. By the way, Denver is only 3 games out behind Kansas City, guys. Just letting y'all know.
Wow. and they've beat them.
Yeah.
So man, this Denver, it's crazy. This Denver team went from getting 70 put on them to the Bears just turned it around for them. I guess they just got.
I honestly think what happened is Sean Payton pulled something out of his playbook when he was with the Saints, and he implemented a bounty system again. Because the way the Broncos are playing right now, it's just unreal. I fell asleep during the third quarter of this game. 6 minutes left in the third quarter. I was like, I'm going to bed. I locked in at that time a same game parlay of Dalton. Dalton, is it Kincaid? Kincaid. It's 2 touchdowns because he already had one. 2 touchdowns with a Buffalo Bills winning. I'm like, I'd be surprised, or it'd be nice. Yeah, the Buffalo is going to win, but it'd be nice if Dalton got a second touchdown here. And I woke up with about 2 minutes left, and I got one eye open, watching on my phone as the Broncos kick a field goal. They had I saw a tweet or something, an X. I think they're called X's now. Corey, I know you don't know anything about that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're like Blue's Clues. We just got a letter.
I think you're doing like flying like a bird.
Yeah. Somebody made a joke that Damar Hamlin was the 12th man on the field on that, and he was not. I don't know who it was, but to have 12 men on the field, and it's just, inexcusable. And I'm pretty sure I've seen before that when you substitute in a team, your special teams like that, the other team is supposed to have time to substitute in. Well,
they did, and they were running out back and forth as fast as they could, both of them.
But if the Bills take their time getting their players out, that ref is going to stand over that ball. We've seen it before in the NFL. Yep. Take your time getting your players out, and guess what? Clock strikes 0, and Denver doesn't have a chance to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It was just, I was shocked that first of all, that they were even in that position. Yep. I mean, I expected the Bills to stomp them. I expected that to look like the San Francisco game, and it did not. But we can move on to this week's 6-pack challenge. The first game is the 12-ounce Curl Route Podcast Big Spread of the Week, Sunday at 1 p.m. The Las Vegas Raiders traveling to South Beach to take on the Miami Dolphins. This is a 12-point spread. Miami is favored. The over-under is 46.5. Money line for Vegas is plus 470. Money line for Miami is minus 650. Miami has a history this year of beating up on bad teams, and the Raiders are that. So I'm really conflicted on this. I'm going to throw to you guys, and then I'll try and pick it up from there and make a decision. Corey, can you tell me how you're feeling on this one?
Yeah, the Raiders aren't good. I think the luck runs out for Antonio Pierce. I love that story, but Miami's coming off a bye, and they're staying in South Beach too, so they don't even have to travel. So I'm taking Miami by 2 touchdowns in this for sure. They're healthy and they're rested. And I think Achane, is he coming back this week or is it next week? We don't know. But still, Mostert's there too, though. So yeah. Well, he's questionable, but he's been questionable since like 2000.
They do that each week because I have Mostert on my fantasy team, and every Wednesday it'll come out. So and so is questionable. I really think those are just when they give players rest days. They won't see him in practice, so they'll say questionable. And then come game time, they're good to go. Kyle, how are you feeling on this one?
I almost want to change my pick, but I'm gonna lock in with what I wrote down. Looking at just kind of the numbers I have written down. Miami has the best offense in the league. They're number 1 in passing yards per game, 2nd in rushing yards per game, 1st in total yards per game, 1st in points per game, but they're 15th in giveaways. They've turned the ball over 13 times this season. On the opposite side of the ball in takeaways, they only have 9. They're near last in the league on takeaways with a turnover differential of -4, which is near the bottom half of the league as well. The Raiders are just overall bad, like Corey said. Their offense is not great. They're better at passing than they are at rushing. I think that changes as we get later into the season. I think they're going to get Josh Jacobs going. But the one big thing I saw out of the Raiders last week when they beat the Jets is that they threw the ball to Davante Adams 13 times. And that wasn't just by luck. That was designed. Now, granted, you have Jalen Ramsey and you have Javon Holland lining up for the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey is a shell of what Jalen Ramsey used to be. Sorry, Jalen Ramsey, I have to say it. You used to be great. Now you're just good. On the defensive side of the ball, the Raiders have been really good against the pass. They haven't been great against the run. They've got 11 takeaways. They've given the ball away 18 times. However, 12 is a really big number in the NFL. we've seen the Dolphins beat a team 70-20 or something of that nature. Antonio Pierce, to me, and the vibe in that organization with the Las Vegas Raiders right now, they don't have to win this game for me to get this pick right. I'm going to lock in at Las Vegas plus 12. I don't like it. I don't love it. And like I said, I thought about changing, but I'm rolling with what I wrote down. I'm taking Las Vegas plus 12.
You guys have conflicted me even more because, like, I watched this Las Vegas team come into Chicago. I was there live, and they looked awful. But that was Josh McDaniels led Las Vegas Raiders. Since Antonio Pierce has taken over, they had the swagger that the Raiders had in the 70s and 80s, and the swagger that they're known for. It feels like it's back with the Raiders. I just love Antonio Pierce, but man, I love Miami too. I picked them to win that division and an AFC game at home coming off the bye. You know what? Give me Miami. I think they win. I just barely cover the 12, but give me Miami covering the 12. I don't know who they have on the Raiders defense that's going to cover Hill or Waddle or anyone on the Miami Dolphins offense. And if they decide to run it, I've seen that too. The Bears ran all over that defense all day long. So go ahead.
Real quick. Waddle is back. He's had 2 weeks in theory to sit down and relax. Max Crosby for Raiders. He is amazing. He is their best player. The problem is Tua gets the ball out faster than anybody. So if Max Crosby can't win this game for the Raiders, I don't know who can.
Yeah.
Al Davis.
And Max is as good as Max is. I've seen him. As good as Max is, I've seen him. You can scheme around a great defensive end. I mean, and he's really alone on that defense. So,
light the torch.
Our next game. Our next game is the 12-ounce Curl Route Podcast Nail Biter of the Week, Sunday at 4:25. So this might be America's game. Maybe not. They usually don't give it to a West Coast.
It's Dallas
team.
Again.
Yeah, they usually don't give it to a West Coast team. But it should be America's game of the week. I think it's going to be a damn good game. Seattle at Los Angeles Rams. Rams are 1-point home underdogs. The over/under is 46. The money line for Seattle is -112. For LA Rams is -108. The Rams don't really have home field advantage. It's going to be full of Seahawks fans in there at SoFi probably. So I'm conflicted about this one too. Corey, I know you're very strong on this one. You've told us. Yeah. So can you tell me how I should feel about it?
Yeah, I know Seattle had a couple tough games and stuff, but I thought this was a bit typo when you sent this to me. The Rams are not good at all, and Seattle could chuck the ball everywhere. So give me Seattle give me Seattle
-1
by 10. I mean, Jesus.
Well, I'll give you the -1 because that's what it is on there. Kyle, you got some notes for me on this one?
I'm not taking Seattle -10. I can tell you that right now. What I am taking is Matthew Stafford being back this week from injury. So I'm taking Cooper Kupp and I'm putting him, right there snug in wide receiver in my fantasy football lineup. These two teams match up pretty evenly, to be honest, on both sides of the ball. Offensively, they don't have any rankings higher than 12 on either side. Seattle and LA. And then on defense, they rank pretty much the same, except for when it comes to the turnover differential. LA is sitting at -2 for turnover differential. Seattle's sitting at +3. Doesn't sound like a lot. Seattle's 9th in the league. LA is 16th. But when it comes to, just everything else, the numbers line up almost evenly, really. And I've got to look at it, and I'm in the same boat as Corey. I would be wrong to take the Rams, and I wanted to take the Rams in this one because I do think that they can win this game. But I picked Seattle to win this division. If I pick the Rams to win this game, I'm going against my gut at the beginning of the season. Offensively, weapons-wise, I think the biggest thing that hurts LA is not having Kyron Williams in that backfield. They won't have him this weekend because he's not eligible to come back. They should have him in week 12. But when I look at the two teams, I'm going to take Seattle -1.
So who do the Rams have running the ball if Kyron Williams is
Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson.
Royce Freeman? Oh yeah. I tried to pick him up in our league and I got outbid for him. Yeah, I think I'm rolling with you guys on this one as well. I like Seattle. Like I said, the Rams don't really have a home field advantage in SoFi. I think they ride K9 a lot there in Seattle. I think he's able to run really well against this Rams defense who have Aaron Donald and a bunch of guys. Just try and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think
bunch of Jags.
Yeah, I think Pete Carroll's going to have a good game plan ready. This could be I do think it's going to be a close game because I love McVay. I wouldn't take Seattle -10 like Corey said. It's a divisional matchup, and I just really think it's going to be close. But I think Seattle ends up pulling this win out.
Corey gave me a look. I just wanted to say that Jag means just another guy. The Rams on defense, they have a bunch of Jags. Just another guys. So
gotcha.
You're over there with your proud hat on. You're Stroud boy.
Right.
So our next game in the 6-pack challenge is Thursday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Baltimore. A dang good Thursday night game. This is something that we need. Baltimore is a 4-point home favorite. The over/under is 46. The money line for Cincinnati is +164. For Baltimore is -198. I had Baltimore winning this division, but this is really tough for me. Kyle, can you give me some numbers and try and talk me one way or the other? Because
I would love to give you numbers, Aaron. And the numbers I'm going to give you is that on paper, Baltimore is far and away a better team than Cincinnati. When it comes to passing yards per game, Cincinnati, that is the only offensive statistic, except for one, and we'll get into the big one here in a minute. Cincinnati's ranked 16th, Baltimore's ranked 20th. Rushing yards per game. Baltimore is at number 1 at 154.9 yards a game rushing. Cincinnati is the worst team in the league at running the ball. 32nd, 74.8. You can multiply Cincinnati's yards per game by 2, and they still don't match up to Baltimore. Offensively, total yards per game, Baltimore ranks 9th, Cincinnati 24th. Points per game, Baltimore's 5th, Cincinnati's 20th. Defensive side of the ball, Cincinnati has a shit defense. 25th in passing yards, 30th in rushing yards, 30th in total yards, 16th in points per game. Other side of the ball, Baltimore Raven has a really good defense. 4th in passing yards, 11th in rushing yards, 2nd in total yards, 1st in points. They're only giving up 15.7 points per game. The big thing that sticks out to me on these two teams is taking care of the football.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bengals have turned the ball over 8 times. Baltimore has turned the ball over 14 times.
Wow.
Cincinnati has taken the ball away 18 times, a league leading 18 times. And we'll jump into who the other team is that's tied with them at 18 a little bit. Baltimore is at 15. The turnover differential, Baltimore is sitting at +1, where Cincinnati's sitting at +10. They're first in the league. If Cincinnati can create a few turnovers in this game, they're right there. This is an AFC North battle. We go back to the Seattle and Rams game where I picked that, and I chose Cincinnati to win this division. If Cincinnati loses this game, they might hit their ticket to not make the playoffs. This is a must-win game for Cincinnati. I'm taking Cincinnati +4.
Wow. Yeah. Corey, what are you feeling on this one?
Man, I didn't want to pick this
You can't not pick this. It's divisional matching up on Thursday.
I'm taking a push. No, Baltimore, I think it's at Baltimore. Baltimore, I think is a better team. I think they can run all over Cincinnati's defense. However, you don't have to win the game to get this point spread. So I'm going to take Cincinnati. I think this is a field goal game one way. I think Cincinnati +4. That's kind of a lot for a divisional game on Thursday night.
Wow. You guys, I think we're all gonna have a lot of the same teams this week. I got hit with the -4 last week and got screwed by it last Thursday. Literally last Thursday. Everything is telling me that Baltimore should stomp, should win this game, should cover the -4. Both of these quarterbacks threw 2 interceptions in their game last week. But man, I just think Cincinnati covers the 4 points. I think it might be a field goal game. Even if Baltimore wins, I think it's like a Justin Tucker winning the ball game at the end of the game. So Cincinnati +4. I just got to take that. I don't think they win the game, but I think it's close. And Kyle, like you said, this is really a must-win game for Cincinnati. But I think not having T. Higgins and having to lean on Jamar Chase, the Baltimore defense is going to recognize that and do everything they can to have them beat them some other way. And we saw Tyler Boyd just not able to get it together last week. I don't know if he's ready for that challenge, but I do think it's a close game. AFC matchup, prime time, pound the under. That's been the thing.
46 is a lot. That's a lot, I think, between these two teams. Even though Baltimore and Cincinnati or Cleveland just scored 64 or whatever.
And that's another thing, Kyle. He said Baltimore's only given up 15 points. That's with 33 points averaged in there from last week. So
wow,
they're not giving up anything this year. It seems like maybe
we're all wrong. They gave up 6 points to Detroit. So they've got some in there and I think they gave up 6 points to Seattle too. I mean, they absolutely hammered both of those teams. Yeah. But this is an AFC North battle, and Cincinnati, I think, is better than better than Seattle. I don't know if they're better than Detroit, but any given Sunday or Thursday.
I guess we'll just be the AFC North podcast because our next game is sticking in that division. Sunday at 1:00, the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. This game opened at, I believe, -4. Cleveland was news of Watson has dropped this down to Cleveland -1. The over-under is 33. The money line for Pittsburgh is -105. For Cleveland is -115. I'm going to go first before one of you guys talk me out of this. Give me Pittsburgh on the road. I know the Cleveland defense is amazing and outstanding and this and that, but that Pittsburgh defense is tough too. TJ Watt, it came out this week that in the first 100 games, it's Reggie White, then TJ Watt, and then JJ Watt. And that was pretty cool to see. And JJ Watt went on a bit of a tangent talking about them growing up in Wisconsin, cheering for the Packers, I'm sure, with Reggie White there. And to see themselves in the same graphic with him, he talked about how much of an honor it was. And that was something really cool to see. I just think I think the under hits on this one as well. I mean, both of these defenses are just so good, and I don't trust any quarterback that Cleveland's going to stick back there, especially against Pittsburgh. Oh, a rookie quarterback against Mike Tomlin's defense? Man, give me Pittsburgh. Go ahead, Corey.
We said it earlier. If you took the name and the number off the back of the quarterback, Browns quarterback, I wouldn't know the difference. Like, Deshaun's not been that much better, and I know Jerome Ford is not Chubb, but that defense is just amazing. I know Pittsburgh's is too, but I just think Cleveland's a better team outright. So it's at home, -1's nothing. I'm taking Cleveland.
And you picked them to win the division, so
I did pick them to win the division and they're first. Yeah, that's true.
So ahead, everybody talks about how great Pittsburgh's defense is, but when I look at the numbers, they're not. They're 27th in passing yards per game against, 25th in rushing yards per game against, 28th in total yards a game per against. Now, points per game, they're sitting at 11th. They only let up 20 points per game. But remember, I told you in our last game that the Bengals have taken the ball away 18 times. Well, guess what? So have the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bengals have given the ball away 8 times. Well, guess what? So have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They rank first in turnover differential. However, the Browns still sit at third in rushing yards per game, and statistically, defensive-wise, they are at 9 or better in every statistic. They have the best passing yards per game. They're sitting at number 1. They only let up 151 passing yards a game. Total yards against them, 242 a game. Points, 18.9. They've taken the ball away 15 times, sitting at 9th, but the Browns are the worst team in the NFL with giveaways. The Browns have to play mistake-free football to win this game. The Browns lost to the Steelers earlier in the season. They had Deshaun Watson. The Steelers defense had 2 touchdowns. As long as the Browns can play keep away from the Steelers defense, because Kenny Pickett ain't it,
No.
as long as they can keep the Steelers defense out of the end zone, I was ready to lock in with Dorian Thompson Robinson at -4. I'm going to lock in with him at -1. They just have to take care of that football. Get that ground game going, hit him with Jerome Ford, hit him with Kareem Hunt, and just establish a strong run game.
Yeah, I'm going to bet that under tonight before it drops down anymore. that's really low.
I'm going to stay away from that one.
Corey's going to have to drive over to the casino. He probably
driving tonight.
He's not going to make it in time.
Oh, shit, it's already closed. It closed 1 minute ago. Shit.
The next game that we're going to talk about is Sunday Night Football. The Minnesota Vikings traveling to Denver, a game that I didn't expect to talk about. But when I saw it on here, I was like, you know what? The way Denver's been playing lately, the way Minnesota under Bobby Dobbs has been playing lately, I got to throw it in here. Denver's a 2-point home favorite. The over-under is 43.5. Money line for Minnesota is +110. For Denver is -130. And you know what? Give me that Dobbs magic. Give me Minnesota +2 in this game. I just really like the way he's been playing, and he's still learning his teammates. We don't know who's playing running back, but he doesn't know either. But they are using TJ Hawkinson a lot. I don't know what Denver has as far as linebackers. I'm sure Kyle will tell us how good their secondary is, but I got to pick it before you guys talk me out of it. I'm feeling the Dobbs magic. So give me Minnesota +2. Kyle, I'm going to pass to you so you can tell us some news and notes on these teams.
News. I'm going to give you the nuggets. Right, we're going down to McDonald's and we're going through the drive-thru and we're getting us some McNuggets. Denver's offense is shit. Denver's defense is shit. Their rushing yards per game, total yards per game, and their points allowed per game all rank 32nd. They're the worst in the league in that. Alexander Madison's in the concussion protocol. I don't know if he's going to play. If he doesn't go, it's going to be Ty Chandler leading the way for the Vikings. Passing yards per game average, they're sitting at 23rd. Guess what? The Vikings don't have Kirk Cousins at quarterback anymore. They have a quarterback that can run the ball, and he's going to run the ball against this Denver Broncos defense. On the other side of the ball, Minnesota has a better passing offense. They're 3rd in the league in passing yards per game.
Wow.
That's without Kirk Cousins for the past 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
2.5 weeks, because Jaron Hall came in and relieved him when he went down. Their rushing yards per game, they're a terrible running team. Total yards, they're sitting at 10th. They have given the ball away quite a bit. They have 17 giveaways. Denver has 13. Minnesota's taken the ball away 14 times, and Denver's taken the ball away 16 times. But I'm willing to roll with that bald quarterback and Bobby Dobbs and just the magic that he's bringing. He's bringing the energy to this team. And if you follow Daily Football Roundup on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, you'll see, I didn't post it to the X, Corey, but you'll see that I posted a video last night that said at the end of this season, the Vikings are going to have a conundrum. They have the opportunity to say, hey, Kirk Cousins, we know you tore your Achilles and you've been great for us, for this organization. We want to bring you back to be our quarterback of the now because he's getting old. I don't know if he can really be the quarterback of the future. Or we stumbled upon this gem who kind of has the same career right now as one Kurt Warner, bouncing around the league, and he's in and he's out, and he's at NASA, and now he's not at NASA. I think he went to Mars. I'm not really sure.
Twice.
But the way that this man has been playing for the past 2 weeks, the fact that he didn't know anybody's name, and he came in against Atlanta, and he led this team. Now, one thing I did read is that, and one of the big reasons why he's throwing this man the ball so much, is that Josh Dobbs and TJ Hawkinson work out in the offseason.
Oh.
When Josh Dobbs, he texts TJ Hawkinson and says, hey, man, I'm going to be in Tennessee. They get together and they throw the ball. Hawkinson said, I love working out with Josh Dobbs in the offseason because I know he's one of the better quarterbacks that I can work out with. So they already have that chemistry. That's one of the big reasons I think he targeted TJ Hawkinson, who was questionable coming into this game last week.
What
He
is it,
targeted him
16
like
times?
15 or
Yeah.
16 times. I was this close to benching TJ Hawkinson this past week. Now, granted, it would have been for Trey McBride, who also had a big week, but I'm glad I didn't because TJ Hawkinson had a better week. The man is just bringing so much, just so much with him. Whereas Denver, I look at Denver and yes, they beat the Chiefs, and yes, they just beat the Bills, but I don't feel like in that locker room they have the same just aura to them. I feel like that magic in the Vikings locker room is just much more than the bounty system over in Denver. So I'm rolling with Minnesota +2.
And that's what you call a Kyle nugget.
That's a nug.
The NASA is calling him the Pastronaut, by the way. I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys saw that,
Yeah.
so that's really cool. Go ahead, Corey. Tell me what you
I
got.
am also rolling the Vikings. Another fun stat. I was super surprised by this. Denver's won 3 in a row, but Minnesota's won 5 in a row, and that's without arguably the number 1 wide receiver in the league, who has a snowball's chance to come back this week.
Oh,
So-
Jalen Rager.
So, with that being said, I'm taking Minnesota for sure. I love Bob Dobbs. I love everything, this whole story. Give me Bob Dobbs and give me Minnesota.
So our 12-ounce curl route podcast quarterbacks is the Green Weenie down in Atlanta.
Bob Dobbs.
He might not be the quarterback when they come out of the bye, by the way.
Coleridge,
By the way.
Coleridge down in Houston, and Bobby Dobbs out in Minnesota. That's
Bob
our
Dobbs.
trifecta.
Oh, Bob.
We can call him Robert Dobbs, Robbie Dobbs, Bobby Dobbs, Bob Dobbs, Rob Dobbs. It don't matter. We got a Dobbs. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Dobbs equals Dubs. Let's go. Monday Night Football, or we're going to wrap this thing up. Monday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles are traveling to Arrowhead at Kansas City. Kansas City's a 2.5-point home favorite. The over-under is 45.5. The money line for Philly is plus 120. For Kansas City is minus 142, and I cannot choose. So please tell me who you are choosing, and I will make an educated decision. See, Kyle does all these notes, all this homework, and I just come in and a fly off the cuff. I'm like Slim Shady, you know. I'm just freestyling out here. Corey, I'm gonna pass to you first, buddy.
I
you
also
feeling?
don't want to pick this game. Kyle, can you at least throw some stats out for us to
I
maybe
will
help us
throw-
persuade
I
us?
will
Maybe
throw some stats.
Let's get some nuggets.
I
Yeah.
will throw some.
I went
Come on
back to
through the
McDonald's.
Come on through the drive-through where I can put some nuggets in your bag, Corey. Okay. Philadelphia is plus 2.5, traveling to Kansas City. I think that Taylor Swift's probably going to be at this game. It's Monday Night Football. You better believe that she's going to be in the booth with Mama Kelsey, with old Jackson and whatever her other. They're not even in the media anymore.
Brittany
And when
Mahomes.
whatever her name is, this is Taylor Swift's team. The Kansas City Swifts is what they are.
Actually, she used to be an Eagles fan and became a Kansas City fan. So
Ugh.
There's going to be a divide in that booth on Monday night, just because you have Jason Kelsey on one side, you got Travis Kelsey on the other. When I look at
finalist for sexiest man of the year, award.
sexiest man of the year, you got one guy who's finalist for sexiest man of the year, and another guy who's dating a billionaire. Mama Kelsey has to be proud. Kansas City, when I watch them, I'll tell you, both of these teams I have not been overly impressed with this season.
It's true.
Yes, Philadelphia is 8-1, and yes, Kansas City is whatever their record is. I think
7-2.
7-2. They lost to Denver, and Philadelphia lost to New York, the Jets. So I mean, come on. Offensively, the Eagles on paper are a better offensive team in every aspect except for passing yards per game, where Kansas City leads that by about 15 yards. Defensive side of the ball, the number one rushing yards defense is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, in my mind, the reason why they're number one is not because of their defense being so great. It's because they get a big lead and it forces the other team to pass the ball. That's my take on that. Total yards per game, however, and I will tell you that the Eagles are 28th in passing yards against, which Patrick Mahomes should have a field day against that. Total yards per game, defensively, Kansas City's 4th, Philadelphia's 14th. And then points per game, Kansas City has a better defense on paper than Philadelphia. When it comes to the turnover differential, both of these teams have given the ball away more than they've taken away. Kansas City turnover differential is -4. Philadelphia is -2. Both of these teams are coming out of there.
Bye.
Thank you. So they should be pretty much well rested, and Jalen Hurts and the Eagles need that rest because they have a slate coming up of games that they have to play. Now, when I looked at this and I looked at the numbers on paper and everything like that, and in my mind, one of these teams to me is the better team. And I think that Vegas got this one wrong, and really Philadelphia should be the, favored in this game. For Philadelphia to be getting 2.5 points against Kansas City, who I think has underwhelmed, I'm riding with Philadelphia plus 2.5 because I think that they're going to win this game.
Corey, you want to go or you want me to pick it up?
Yeah, I'll go. As much as I love Rashee Rice for the Chiefs, I'm kind of with Kyle on this. Both of them coming out of their bye, but Philadelphia, I get my thinking is I guess Kansas City at night at Arrowhead. That's it. That's why they got -2.5.
Yeah.
I still don't believe Kansas City's the best team in the AFC. I do think Philly is top 3 still. So for that reason, I'm going to take the plus 2.5. That's awesome. I'll take Philadelphia.
Dang, I was hoping one of y'all could see. I feel like we're riding together a lot this week. I don't know the numbers completely, but I'm feeling Philly too. The way they play bully ball, I love the aggressiveness, and it's starting to get cold. And when those pads start hitting in the cold weather, oh, it hurts like a head. it hurts. So just give me the Philadelphia bully ballers. I love the way the Eagles play. They basically have 4 downs to work with every time. If it's 3rd and 3 or shorter, they're going for it, and they're probably going to get it. And I am a little worried about Travis Kelce, especially if Taylor Swift is in attendance, because Philadelphia has some young linebackers back there. So that's who's going to be called upon to try and cover him, unless they go with a safety, which, and like you said, Kyle, that they're 28th in the league in passing defense. So that would be difficult. But I still think Philadelphia plus 2.5. As you say, Philadelphia doesn't have to win this game for me to win this bet. So
yeah, but they will.
2.5 as well.
I think I would take the over on this game too. 45.5 seems low for this. I could see this game being 35-31 as a final, or 38-35. Yeah, I think that this is going to be one of those offensive, just slobber knockers.
Yeah, this game's going to be in like 4.5 hours because everybody's scoring. We did go together on the Seahawks, the Bengals, the Vikings, and the Eagles. So might not be too much change. I do, however, want to check in on one more game. The New York Jets are going to Buffalo. If the New York Jets sweep Buffalo, anarchy will ensue for the only team that's actually in the state of New York.
Yeah. Do you think they just fired their offensive coordinator? You think if they lose to the Jets again, they'll start looking at higher up in that coaching staff? Or
well, do you know who their new offensive coordinator is?
I do not. I have not gotten that far.
It is Joe Brady, who was the offensive coordinator. The passing game coordinator for the LSU Tigers when they won the national championship with Burrow and all the others.
Go Tigers.
He went to Carolina as the offensive coordinator, and he got ousted after a year and a half. But I was high on Joe Brady. I think he's still young. I want to say he's high 20s, young, early 30s. So expect to see his name in the NFL, I would think, for a while. But
yeah,
I mean, it might be the kick in the ass that the Bills need, making a change. No offense to Ken Dorsey, but nothing great ever comes from Cleveland. So.
Don't tell Corey that. That's where his head coach came from.
Oh, sorry, Corey.
It was also fired too, by the way. Because he couldn't get a quarterback. Yeah.
Well, my dad did tell me we need to talk about the Lions more, so I'll talk a little about Bears Lions. I didn't put them on the 6-pack challenge because it's a 9.5-point spread. As you said, Kyle, Justin Fields is coming back. Nate Davis is supposed to come back, our right guard, which flips Tevin Jenkins back over to left guard and gets rid of Cody Whitehair, which is a big deal because he is not good anymore. I think DJ Moore has the ability to have a pretty good game this week. If you're looking for starting someone in your fantasy lineup, the Lions just gave up how many points last week? 38?
35, I think. I think it was
their
38 to
defense is not
35.
good, so
Yeah, I don't care if the
throw all
Bears
over 'em.
have Jesus Christ on their team. The Lions are still going to win by 17. So,
Oh,
Yeah, at least.
well, maybe they will. I don't know. You guys want to talk about Jared Goff? Because I was told to talk about Jared Goff a little. I don't know.
as much as I'd love to talk about Jared Goff, Jared Goff is not the reason that no offense to Jared Goff, but he's not the reason the Lions are the way they are. He's not the one that's in the papers, and he's not that leader. He's not that quarterback that people say, oh, he's out in front. It's Dan Campbell's team.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell is the one in the headlines. Dan Campbell is the one talking to the media. Dan Campbell is the quarterback of that organization. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. David Montgomery had a 75-yard touchdown run against the Chargers. That was checked at the line. I read that was a pass play, and the offensive coordinator in the headset to Jared Goff checked it into a run. And Montgomery took it for 75 yards for like the longest run in franchise history in the last 10 or 15 years or something crazy like that.
Probably since Barry Sanders retired.
Yeah. But that team is rolling. They had the one hiccup against the Ravens where they got absolutely just pummeled. But that happens in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to win them all. And if you do, Corey, we've seen that you lose in the Super Bowl.
Oh, fuck.
So
I see over.
That don't matter. That's things of the past.
Sweep the leg, Kyle. Sweep the leg.
Catching strays over here.
Corey's a Stroud boy now. It don't matter. He's cool as a cucumber, just like Coleridge is. So yeah, I think the Lions are far and away the best team in the NFC North, and they are top 3 in the NFC. They're up there with the Eagles and with the 49ers. But I think that of those 3 teams, one of those 3 teams will make the Super Bowl.
Well, it is a David Montgomery revenge game. However, the Bears are top 5 rushing defense. I don't know the numbers offhand, but they have a really good rushing defense. Well, however, Jared Goff can stand back there and carve this secondary up. It's
and the run defense could be whatever, but in the past 3 games, while David Montgomery was hurt, David Montgomery was a great pickup for the Detroit Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs has 51 carries for 297 yards and 4 tutties. And then now they're both playing. So I think they can still run easily on the Bears together.
I think the Lions messed up by letting Jamal Williams go, though, because Jamal Williams was that voice on the offense. He was that person who was out there, with the media and making jokes and stuff like that. Now, he's been non-existent in New Orleans, but I loved watching Jamal Williams. Sure, but I loved watching Jamal Williams in Detroit.
I think they're doing okay with Jahmyr Gibbs in that pick.
I would agree. And David Montgomery was always a fantasy playoff winner for me in the fantasy football playoffs.
When he was always
with the Bears.
Yeah.
Oh, but he would blow up at the end of the season, and he always had a great schedule. And Aaron, if your dad does not listen to this damn podcast tomorrow, where we're spending 8 hours talking about the Lions, I'm going to be thoroughly upset.
I'll give you guys an update.
He better send some fan mail to Corey, and Corey gets to open it up live.
I'll read it by Christmas. Yeah,
in 2 or 3 weeks when he gets that. Where at that time, things in the NFL have completely changed. But just watching Corey's face, being happy, knowing that he got fan mail, we need to get him a PO box to where people can send.
Yeah.
Are there any other games this week that you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
I'm good, buddy.
I'm just an NFL fan. I don't really have a favorite team anymore.
Just pick another team. You'll be all right.
I'm gonna pick one by next week. Just
Because
give
right
me,
now, mine and Aaron's other teams are 10-8. So there you go.
yeah. Let me pick one, and I'll let you
Both
know.
my
who I
teams are
pick.
at the bottom of their divisions. I just, I don't know. It is what it is. But we'll get out of here and come back next week. Until then, like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Share it with your friends. Go to Daily Football Roundups YouTube page where we go live every Wednesday. It's also shared on the Facebook page as well as X, I believe. But we don't really check X too often. But we are on there. We're just not very sociable. You can check out DFR on TikTok, Instagram, all of those things
Snapchat.
where Kyle will get on there and start posting videos and get our algorithms up and get people to come in here and say what's up in the comments. We are able to see them, and we do put them on the screen from time to time if they are relevant. But till then, I mean, we'll just get out of here. Corey, you want to tell them?
Bye.